remote Scottish island battered by relentless winds. A lighthouse, its beams slicing through the perpetual gloom, and 3 keepers vanished without a trace. What happened on the Flannan Isles remains one of the most baffling maritime mysteries of all time, a riddle wrapped in isolation and fear. Picture a place of stark, unforgiving beauty, where the wind howls day and night, a constant mournful cry, where waves, black as ink, crash against towering cliffs with relentless fury. This is Eilean Mor, one of the 7 uninhabited Flannan Isles, a desolate archipelago in the Outer Hebrides of Scotland. Back in 1900, this isolated outpost served as home to the Flannan Isles Lighthouse, a vital beacon of hope in a treacherous sea. And it was manned by 3 men, tasked with the lonely duty of keeping its lamp burning bright. Our story begins on December 26, 1900, a day that would forever be etched in maritime history. The relief vessel Hesperus, under the command of Captain James Harvey, approached Eilean Mor to deliver a replacement keeper, Joseph Moore, and relieve the current crew from their isolated duty. But as the Hesperus drew closer to the island, an unsettling sight greeted them. The lighthouse offered no friendly greeting. No flag flew from its tower, the customary signal to indicate all was well. Captain Harvey, his unease growing, ordered a signal fired from the ship, but no response came. A heavy, unnatural silence hung over the island, broken only by the mournful cries of seabirds and the ceaseless roar of the ocean. A silence that spoke of something terribly, terribly wrong. Joseph Moore was sent ashore to investigate, completely unaware that he was about to stumble upon a mystery that would grip the world's imagination for over a century. Moore's initial exploration revealed a scene of complete and utter abandonment. The entrance gate to the compound and the main door to the lighthouse itself were unlocked, an immediate cause for alarm. Inside, he found the beds unmade, a clock stopped at some unknown hour, and a half-eaten meal laid out on the table, as if the occupants had been interrupted in the middle of their supper. Most disturbingly, one of the oilskin coats, vital for protecting against the brutal weather, was missing from its peg. Moore searched frantically for any sign of the keepers: Thomas Marshall, the principal keeper, James Duckett, the second assistant keeper, and Donald MacArthur, the occasional keeper, filling in as assistant keeper. But his calls echoed unanswered through the empty stone tower. Overwhelmed by the eerie silence and the inexplicable scene before him, Moore returned to the Hesperus with the chilling news. Captain Harvey, immediately realizing the gravity of the situation, sent a telegram to the Northern Lighthouse Board headquarters, reporting the inexplicable disappearance. What could have possibly happened to 3 experienced lighthouse keepers on a seemingly ordinary night, leaving behind a scene of such unsettling disarray? Before we plunge deeper into this unsettling enigma, if you're enjoying unraveling mysteries like this one, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell. We bring you the most baffling and haunting tales from around the world. News of the vanishing keepers spread quickly across the mainland, igniting a wave of speculation, rumor, and genuine concern. The Northern Lighthouse Board, facing a public relations nightmare, launched an official investigation, dispatching Superintendent Robert Muirhead to Eilean Mor to personally assess the situation and get to the bottom of the mystery. Muirhead's meticulous investigation did offer some crucial clues, but ultimately, they only deepened the perplexing nature of the disappearances. He carefully noted that the west landing, typically used for accessing the lighthouse during calmer weather, showed clear signs of recent activity. A supply box lay open near the landing, and the ropes were still in place, suggesting that someone had been there shortly before the disappearance. However, the north landing, fully exposed to the relentless force of the Atlantic, bore the unmistakable scars of a powerful storm. Heavy iron railings were bent and twisted like pretzels, and a large rock, estimated to weigh over a ton, had been dislodged from its position. Could a rogue wave, an act of God, have swept the keepers away to their doom? Or was there a far more sinister explanation lurking in the shadows of Island Moor? Adding another layer of almost unbearable intrigue to this already baffling case was the lighthouse logbook, meticulously kept by the keepers themselves. The last entry, penned by Thomas Marshall on December 15th, described severe gales and unusually high seas lashing against the island. However, it was the entries from the preceding days that painted a far more disturbing and perplexing picture of the events leading up to the disappearance. On December 12th, Marshall wrote of severe winds, the likes of which I have never seen before. More unsettling was his terse claim that James Ducat had been very quiet, and that Donald MacArthur had been observed crying, something completely out of character for the seasoned mariner. The following day, December 13th, the log reported that the storm was still raging with undiminished fury, and all three men were now praying. But here's the twist, the detail that makes the blood run cold. Meteorological records from the time indicate that while there were indeed gales in the area, the weather was not exceptionally severe, certainly not the kind that would drive experienced lighthouse keepers to their knees in prayer. So why were these seasoned mariners so profoundly disturbed, their nerves so thoroughly shaken? Was something else happening on the remote island? Something beyond the reach of earthly explanation, something perhaps supernatural. The official investigation, hampered by the remoteness of the location and the lack of any surviving witnesses, ultimately leaned towards the most straightforward theory, a tragic accident. Superintendent Muirhead, in his final report, concluded that the keepers had most likely been attempting to secure loose equipment on the exposed North Landing during a break in the storm, when a massive, unforeseen wave unexpectedly crashed over the rocks, sweeping them out to sea to their inevitable deaths. This explanation, while plausible on the surface, failed to adequately address several key inconsistencies that continued to haunt the investigation. Why would all three experienced men be working outside at the same time, especially during such treacherous and unpredictable conditions? Why was only one of the oilskins missing from the lighthouse, while the other two remained behind, neatly hanging on their pegs? And what perhaps most disturbingly of all accounted for the strange and unsettling entries in the logbook, hinting at a growing sense of unease, paranoia, and perhaps even terror among the three keepers in the days leading up to their disappearance. As the days turned into weeks, and the weeks slowly bled into months, the mystery surrounding the Flannan Isles Lighthouse only deepened, casting a long, dark shadow of doubt and unanswered questions over the official explanation. The families of the missing men were left with nothing but unanswered questions and a gnawing, persistent sense of loss that would likely never truly heal, a wound that would fester for generations to come. They deserved answers, but answers, it seemed, were not forthcoming. As the 20th century marched relentlessly forward, the Flannan Isles mystery steadily evolved from a simple, if tragic, accident into a fertile breeding ground for wild speculation, outlandish rumors, and increasingly elaborate paranormal theories. With each passing year and each retelling of the story, the facts became more and more obscured, lost in a fog of conjecture and half-truths. Some, clinging to the idea of human malice, suggested that the keepers had been abducted by a passing ship, forced into servitude, or subjected to something far, far worse. Others, captivated by the supernatural, whispered of dark forces at play on the island, citing its remote and isolated location, its long and often bloody history, and the numerous local folklore and legends that spoke of malevolent entities lurking in the shadows. One particularly popular and enduring Theory centered on the existence of a so-called phantom wave, a sudden and inexplicable surge of water, far larger and more powerful than any normal wave, capable of immense destruction and leaving no trace of its passing. Still others, focusing on the psychological aspect of the mystery, pointed to the possibility of madness brought on by the extreme isolation, the relentless harshness of the environment, and the crushing weight of responsibility. Perhaps, they argued, the keepers had simply succumbed to a collective psychological breakdown, their minds shattered by the loneliness, and met a tragic end as a result of their own unraveling. The complete lack of any concrete evidence one way or the other only served to fuel the ever-growing flames of speculation, transforming Island Moor into a focal point for ghost stories, unexplained phenomena, and the darkest imaginings of the human mind. Among the many theories that have been put forward over the years, the most persistent and arguably the most unsettling revolve around the disturbing idea of a third man, an unknown entity or external force, either human or supernatural, that played a direct role in the disappearance of the three keepers. This unsettling concept draws its inspiration, at least in part, from the cryptic log entries describing Donald MacArthur's apparent emotional distress in the days leading up to the vanishing, strongly suggesting a conflict or some kind of intense struggle within the group dynamic. What or who could have driven a hardened 50-year-old man, a veteran of the high seas, to tears? Some theorists, embracing the darker possibilities, propose a mutiny, a violent disagreement that rapidly escalated into a deadly confrontation between the keepers. Could MacArthur, perhaps driven mad by the isolation or consumed by some long-simmering resentment, have murdered his fellow keepers in cold blood, then been himself swept away by a rogue wave, a final act of cosmic justice? Or perhaps a foreign fishing trawler, or even a smuggling vessel approached the island seeking shelter from the storm, and the keepers were killed during a heated confrontation with the crew, their bodies disposed of in the unforgiving depths of the Atlantic. These conflict-based theories, while undeniably dark and disturbing, offer at least a potential explanation for the missing oilskin coat and the strangely disturbed scene inside the lighthouse, pointing to a desperate struggle that preceded the final, still unexplained tragedy. In more recent years, as scientific understanding has advanced and old assumptions have been challenged, researchers have begun to explore the possibility of a far more mundane, yet equally disturbing explanation for the events on Island Moor: ergot poisoning. Ergot is a naturally occurring fungus that can, under certain conditions, grow on rye and other grains commonly used in bread making. Disturbingly, the consumption of ergot-contaminated food can lead to a wide range of debilitating symptoms, including terrifying hallucinations, intense paranoia, erratic behavior, and even violent outbursts. If the keepers had unknowingly ingested contaminated food in the days or weeks leading up to their disappearance, it could potentially explain the increasingly erratic behavior described in the logbook, the growing sense of unease and paranoia, and contribute to a catastrophic breakdown in their collective mental state. This ergot poisoning theory, while still lacking any definitive proof or direct evidence, offers a disturbingly plausible and scientifically grounded explanation for the keeper's apparent descent into madness and the unsettling events that immediately preceded their inexplicable disappearance. Whether it was a rogue wave from hell, a collective descent into madness fueled by tainted food, or something far more sinister lurking just beyond the realm of human comprehension, one thing is painfully certain. The keepers of the Flannan Isles Lighthouse reached a point of no return, a dark and terrifying moment from which there was absolutely no escape, their fate sealed by forces beyond their control. Adding another layer of chilling intrigue to this already complex and unsettling mystery, the Flannan Isles Lighthouse itself was widely considered to be an unlucky posting among the close-knit community of lighthouse keepers. Even before the infamous disappearance of 1900, numerous tales and rumours had circulated among sailors and lighthouse keepers alike, speaking of strange and unsettling occurrences on the remote and windswept Eilean Moor. Some spoke in hushed tones of disembodied voices carried on the wind, while others whispered of fleeting, unsettling shadows glimpsed from the corners of their eyes, and a general, pervasive sense of unease that seemed to cling to the very stones of the island. One particularly chilling story tells of a previous keeper who claimed to have seen a spectral figure shrouded in mist and darkness, lurking near the jagged cliffs, forever watching and waiting. Whether these eerie stories are rooted in some forgotten truth or are merely the product of isolated minds slowly succumbing to the crushing loneliness and the psychological pressures of their isolated existence is a matter of endless debate. But regardless of their origin, they undoubtedly contribute to the palpable atmosphere of dread, fear, and lingering mystery that continues to surround the Flannan Isles to this very day. The lighthouse itself, originally intended as a beacon of hope and safety for passing sailors, somehow became a chilling symbol of something far more ominous and sinister. A desolate place where the already blurred boundaries between the natural world and the supernatural seemed to dissolve completely, leaving those stationed there vulnerable to forces beyond their understanding, and perhaps beyond their control. If you're enjoying the video and find yourself captivated by these kinds of unsolved mysteries, be sure to subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell to never miss a new upload. Your support helps us bring you more haunting tales from the darkest corners of the world. Now I want you to truly imagine yourself as Joseph Moore, the replacement keeper, as he first steps ashore onto the deserted and eerily silent island of Eilean Moor. The oppressive silence is almost deafening, broken only by the mournful howl of the relentless wind as it whips across the barren landscape. You approach the imposing lighthouse, its stark white tower a beacon against the grey sky, and enter its cold, stone interior, the air thick with a palpable sense of abandonment, lingering dread, and profound foreboding. The half-eaten meal still laid out on the table, the unmade beds in the keeper's quarters, the clock stopped at some unknown fateful hour, all frozen in time, like a macabre tableau. Then, driven by a sense of duty and a growing unease, you climb the winding stairs to the lamp room, the very heart of the lighthouse, and find it functioning perfectly, its powerful beam relentlessly casting its light out into the vast, empty sea. 3 men, seasoned professionals, have inexplicably vanished from the face of the earth, leaving behind no trace, no explanation, and no bodies. But their light, their legacy, somehow remains, a haunting beacon of hope and despair in the all-encompassing darkness. What could have possibly possessed them to abandon their vital post, leaving behind everything they knew, everything they held dear, and everything they had sworn to protect? The true horror of the Flannan Isles mystery lies not only in the perplexing, unanswered questions themselves, but also in the unsettling and inescapable feeling that something profoundly unnatural, something malevolent and unseen, was at play on the remote and desolate Eilean Moor, forever staining its rocky shores with an aura of inexplicable dread. But perhaps the most profoundly chilling and deeply unsettling aspect of the Flannan Isles Lighthouse mystery, the element that continues to haunt us and fuel our collective fascination, is the enduring and seemingly unshakable lack of a definitive answer. Despite countless investigations conducted over the course of more than a century, despite the endless parade of theories put forward by seasoned experts and armchair detectives alike, And despite the unwavering efforts of dedicated researchers to uncover the truth, the ultimate fate of the three ill-fated keepers remains shrouded in an impenetrable fog of uncertainty. The official explanation, the seemingly straightforward account of a tragic accident caused by a rogue wave, simply fails to fully satisfy the nagging doubts and lingering questions that continue to plague the investigation, leaving far too much room for speculation, conjecture, and even the wildest imaginings. The strange and unsettling entries in the lighthouse logbook, hinting at growing unease and a mounting sense of dread. The inexplicable disappearance of only one of the vital oilskin coats, while the other two remained untouched. The heavy iron railings, twisted and bent by some immense force. All of these strange and inexplicable details point to a far more complex and infinitely more unsettling scenario than a simple maritime accident. The ultimate revelation, the truly terrifying possibility that we must ultimately confront, is that we may never truly know what happened on that remote and windswept island in the stormy darkness of December 1900. The mystery persists, an enduring and haunting reminder of the vast and unknowable forces that can shape our lives in an instant, and the inherent fragility of human existence when confronted by the awesome and terrifying power of the unknown. We search for answers, we crave resolution, but sometimes the universe simply refuses to yield its secrets, leaving us forever haunted by the ghosts of what might have been. Now consider this chilling scenario for a moment. Three experienced lighthouse keepers, Thomas Marshall, James Ducat, and Donald MacArthur, seasoned professionals who have spent years braving the harsh realities of life at sea and enduring the psychological challenges of prolonged isolation, simply vanish from the face of the earth without a single trace. Imagine the biting wind whipping around the Flannan Isles, the taste of salt spray heavy in the air, the deafening roar of the waves crashing against the unforgiving rocks below. These men knew that life. They were accustomed to the solitude, the damp chill that permeated everything, the rhythmic pulse of the lamp cutting through the inky blackness. They were the guardians of the light, reliable and steadfast, and then nothing. They were simply gone. They leave behind a scene inside the lighthouse that strongly suggests a sudden and completely unexpected departure, a fleeting moment of utter chaos, frozen forever in time. A tipped-over chair lies askew in the galley, a half-eaten meal congeals on a plate, and a thick wool coat is thrown haphazardly on the floor, as if its owner had shed it in a frantic hurry. The lamproom, usually gleaming with meticulous care, shows signs of neglect, with oil smudges marring the polished brass. The air hangs heavy with a strange stillness, a silence that seems to amplify the unanswered questions. The only tangible clues to their disappearance are the cryptic and increasingly disturbing entries in the lighthouse logbook, hinting at severe and unseasonable weather conditions, and a growing sense of unease, paranoia, and perhaps even outright terror among the three men. The ink in the later entries seems rushed, almost frantic, the handwriting deteriorating from neat professional script to a shaky scrawl. One entry speaks of unnatural winds, another of a presence felt but not seen. Imagine the growing dread building within those stone walls, the feeling of being watched, the creeping suspicion that something was terribly wrong, the complete and utter lack of any distress signal being sent from the lighthouse, the unsettling absence of any bodies being recovered despite extensive searches, and the seemingly impossible and utterly baffling circumstances surrounding their disappearance all combine to create a sense of profound, almost unbearable mystery and a cacophony of unanswered questions that continue to echo through the years. No mayday call, no desperate plea for help, just silence. The authorities search tirelessly, scouring the island and the surrounding waters, but found nothing, not a single trace of the missing men. It was as if they had been swallowed whole by the sea or spirited away by some unknown force. The true climax of this enduring and unsettling story lies not in a dramatic confrontation between the keepers, not in a shocking and unexpected revelation that neatly ties up all the loose ends, but rather in the slow, creeping and deeply unsettling realization that some mysteries, no matter how diligently we pursue them, may simply never be solved, their secrets forever locked away behind an impenetrable wall of silence and uncertainty. The Flannan Isles Lighthouse itself stands as a stark and imposing testament to this enduring ambiguity. A desolate and windswept place where the veil between the known and the unknown remains perpetually thin, a liminal space where the boundaries of reality seem to blur and distort. Imagine standing on that desolate island, the wind tearing at your clothes, the cries of seabirds filling the air, and the towering lighthouse looming above you like a silent sentinel. The relentless wind on Alien Moor continues to howl its mournful song. The dark waves continue to crash against the jagged rocks with ceaseless fury, and the powerful light of the lighthouse continues to shine out into the empty sea, a beacon of both hope and despair. The beam sweeps across the horizon, a constant reminder of the men who once tended it, men who vanished without a trace. But the ultimate fate of Thomas Marshall, James Ducat, and Donald MacArthur, the three keepers who vanished without a trace on that fateful night in December 1900, remains shrouded in a thick and impenetrable fog of uncertainty, a chilling enigma that echoes through the ages, whispering of unseen forces and unknowable horrors. The mystery lingers, a dark stain on the pages of maritime history. Are we truly alone in the vast and indifferent expanse of the universe? Or did something far more sinister and unearthly claim the lives of these three men, something that lies far beyond the scope of human understanding? Something that we might never see coming, even as it reaches out to claim us as well. Did they stumble upon something they shouldn't have seen? Was it a rogue wave, a sudden storm, or something far more malevolent? The questions remain unanswered, leaving us to grapple with the unsettling possibility that some doors are best left unopened, some mysteries best left unsolved. The Flannan Isles Lighthouse stands as a stark reminder of the fragility of life, the power of the sea, and the enduring allure of the unknown. In the immediate aftermath of the inexplicable disappearance of the three lighthouse keepers, and the ensuing public outcry and media frenzy, the Northern Lighthouse Board, facing intense pressure to provide answers and prevent any similar incidents from occurring in the future, implemented a series of new and more stringent safety protocols and significantly increased the frequency of routine lighthouse inspections across its network of remote outposts. The Flannan Isles Lighthouse itself, despite its newly acquired reputation as an unlucky posting, continued to operate, manned by a succession of new keepers who bravely faced the daunting task of keeping the light burning in the shadow of the missing men. But the haunting memory of Thomas Marshall, James Ducat and Donald MacArthur, and the enduring mystery surrounding their disappearance, lingered in the air like a persistent fog. A constant reminder of the inherent dangers faced by those who served on these remote and isolated outposts, and the critical importance of maintaining unwavering vigilance, constant preparedness, and a deep respect for the unpredictable power of the sea. The families of the missing keepers, left to grapple with their profound and immeasurable loss, struggled to come to terms with the agonizing uncertainty and the complete lack of closure that defined their tragedy. The deeply unsettling story of the Flannan Isles Lighthouse quickly became a part of local folklore, a chilling, cautionary tale passed down through generations of islanders, reminding those who lived in close proximity to the sea of the unpredictable nature of the ocean, the ever-present dangers of isolation, and the enduring power of the unknown to shape our lives in ways we can scarcely imagine. What lurks in those dark waves? What shadows dance on the periphery of our vision in those lonely places? The enduring mystery of the Flannan Isles Lighthouse, with its tantalizing blend of unexplained events, chilling atmosphere, and lingering unanswered questions, has served as a potent source of inspiration for countless books, magazine articles, speculative documentaries, dramatic films, and even a haunting chamber opera. The story continues to capture the collective imagination of people around the world, fueled by its inherent ambiguity, its unsettling sense of isolation, and the persistent, nagging possibility that something truly inexplicable, something perhaps even supernatural, occurred on that remote and windswept island in the unforgiving winter of 1900. While the official explanation of a tragic accident, however unsatisfying, remains the most widely accepted and readily digestible theory among the general public, the lingering questions, the troubling inconsistencies, and the complete lack of any definitive evidence to support that conclusion ensure that the enduring mystery of the Flannan Isles will continue to fascinate, intrigue, and disturb generations to come. The Flannan Isles Lighthouse itself stands as a silent and imposing monument to the vast unknown, a desolate place where the very boundaries of reality seem to blur and distort, and where the rational human mind struggles to fully comprehend the incomprehensible forces that may lie just beyond the reach of our limited perception. Ultimately, the only true resolution to this enduring mystery lies in accepting the inherent limitations of our human understanding, acknowledging the profound depths of the unknown, and appreciating the awesome power of those forces to both terrify and inspire us in equal measure. The light shines on, but the answers remain lost at sea. The ultimate consequences of the Flannan Isles Lighthouse mystery extend far beyond the immediate and tragic loss of 3 human lives, touching upon the very foundations of maritime safety, psychological well-being, and our collective understanding of the world around us. The incident, with its unsettling blend of unexplained events and lingering unanswered questions, shook the confidence of the Northern Lighthouse Board and the broader maritime community, leading to increased scrutiny of existing safety protocols, a renewed emphasis on crew training, and a greater awareness of the unique psychological challenges faced by lighthouse keepers stationed in remote and isolated locations. The enduring mystery also served as a chilling reminder of the awesome power of isolation to warp the human mind, the inherent fragility of our mental state when confronted by the unknown, and the ever-present dangers of the sea. The families of the missing men, forever marked by the tragedy and haunted by the lack of closure, had their lives irrevocably altered by the unanswered questions and the enduring pain of their immeasurable loss. And the Flannan Isles themselves, once a remote and largely unremarkable archipelago, became forever synonymous with mystery, intrigue, and a sense of lurking unease. A place where the veil between the natural world and the supernatural realm seemed particularly thin and easily breached. The haunting story of the Flannan Isles serves as a chilling and timeless reminder of our inherent vulnerability in the face of nature's awesome power, the enduring mysteries that lie just beyond the reach of human comprehension, and the unsettling possibility that some questions may simply never be answered. And so the vanishing of the Flannan Isles lighthouse keepers remains to this very day a haunting and deeply unsettling enigma, a chilling tale of extreme isolation, profound mystery, and the enduring power of the unknown to both terrify and captivate the human imagination. Whether the three keepers were swept away by a rogue wave of unimaginable size and power, succumbed to a collective descent into madness fueled by the crushing loneliness and the harsh environment, or fell victim to something far more sinister and unearthly lurking in the shadows of Island Moor, their ultimate fate continues to elude us, shrouded in a thick and impenetrable fog of uncertainty. The Flannan Isles Lighthouse stands today as a silent and imposing sentinel, a stark reminder of the vast and unknowable forces that shape our world, the inherent fragility of human existence in the face of the unknown, and the enduring mysteries that continue to challenge our understanding of reality. As we reflect upon this enduring and deeply unsettling mystery, let us remember Thomas Marshall, James Ducat, and Donald MacArthur, the three keepers who vanished without a trace on that fateful night in December 1900, and the enduring power of the Flannan Isles to stir our imaginations, challenge our perceptions, and remind us that some questions may simply never be answered, their secrets forever lost to the depths of time. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of maritime history's most eerie and perplexing mysteries, make sure to like this video to let us know, subscribe to the channel for more chilling content, and hit that notification bell to stay updated on all of our future explorations into the strange, the unexplained, and the downright terrifying. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep searching for the truth, but be careful what you find.